What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and I'm here today with the review for The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 5, Episode 3, Sip and See You Later review. So let's go ahead and just jump into this episode review, shall we? Alright, you guys, so this episode, it picked up where the last one left off. You guys remember, Candice told Giselle to shut the fuck up because they are pushing for her to apologize to Ashley at that table. I just didn't understand why they kept, because even Robin chimed in and, Candice told her shut the fuck up. And Robin was like, no, I will not shut up. Robin, please shut up, because one, this ain't got nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with any of the girls. Now, yes, I get it. Candice has done public shit, talking about Ashley on Twitter. I mean, she does it with the entire cast, to be quite honest with you. She talks about all of them while the show was on. She live tweets the show. And I mean, when she live tweets. So, I mean, I get that she might want to give her a public apology, but the things that she said wasn't really in front of the group. They were on social media. So she could apologize on social media, but the fact that they are just hitting this girl over the head with an apology, I felt some type of way. And I even agree with Wendy. Like, even if she apologizes to the girl, is it genuine? Because at that point, she would just be appeasing you guys by saying, hey, Ashley, I'm sorry, in front of the girls, and it would be disingenuous. So I'm still in agreement with Candice saying that, she wants to meet with her after, on a later occasion, where it's just those two and they can have a conversation, not necessarily in front of the group. So then Monique and Candice kind of got into a little bit of a back and forth because of the whole Charisse thing, because let Candice tell it, she didn't know that Monique and Charisse were not that cool, but let, Monique tell it, she knew full well that they weren't that cool. And Monique feels that she should have just given her a heads up. In the end, Candice did apologize to Monique for that. As far as giving her a heads up about Charisse coming to the party, how do I feel about that? I mean, I don't necessarily feel like she should. I mean, it would have been nice to give her a heads up, let her know, like, hey, I know you might not be cool with Charisse, but I did invite Charisse to my party. But I mean, she doesn't have to necessarily give her a heads up. It would be nice to do it, but I don't feel like she just had to do that. But I mean, me personally, if I know two of my friends don't get along, I'm gonna definitely say, hey, so and so is coming to my party. I really would like it if you come, but if you don't want to come because of them, I understand. But if you do come, I can definitely keep you guys at a distance, I guess. And I was so happy when Karen put a stop to this, because I'm like, this is irritating me at this point. So Ashley and Candice do decide that they'll talk to each other in private. So then they show us 3 minutes after filming stopped that Candice and Monique got into it a little worse, because Candice was telling Monique to back up, telling her to back the fuck up and not to talk to her, and they're not friends. And Candice felt like, if, Monique had this big issue, she should have come to her at the party. That part I kind of do understand, actually. I actually understand that part. Surprisingly, I understand that part. If you felt some type of way about Charisse being at the party, come to me at the party, pull me to the side, say, hey, Candice, I know you might be cool with Charisse and all, but I'm not feeling her. Like, I came here to support you, but with her being here, it's just not gonna be what it is for me. But it is what it is. Or even the next day, like, don't let this fester. Talk to me at some point. If we're really friends, talk to me at some point and tell me I felt uncomfortable with Charisse being at your party, and we can dead it and squash it. But that's not what happened. Let us move on. All right, next, you guys, let us discuss Giselle. So Robin goes over to Giselle's house where she still has her contractors working on her house. So then they go out in her backyard and, they're talking, and they're mostly talking about Jamal. So, she tells her that, because Robin asked her, how did this happen, you and Jamal? And she says, seeing him going through the process of being the new pastor at new birth, she saw a change in him. I'm like, oh. So did you also see a change in him with this new rumor that he has an alleged baby with a parishioner from that church? Which she has not addressed that yet, but that's neither here nor there. Actually, she did address it on Watch What Happens Live back around the time of the reunion for Real Housewives of Atlanta. She said it wasn't true. But I mean, what else do you expect her to say? Because she would have egg on her face once again. So I didn't expect Giselle to say much. So, but yeah, she says she sees that he's changed. And then she tells him that the girls are not on the same page. Because Robin asked her, how do the girls feel? She says, the girls really are not feeling this. She says, all of them? She says, yes, pretty much. And I mean, Giselle I don't know how she is this oblivious to see why her girls are not feeling this. Their dad, your ex-husband, cheated on you, hurt you, and now you're getting back with them. They're just trying to protect you, basically. But I mean, it is what it is. And then, she tells Robin that, Jamal is coming there for her birthday. So then we do see that Jamal shows up and they go out on the boat. That was awkward watching those girls because, again, like I said, it's not that the girls, I don't know if they're not happy. I just think they might be a little bit apprehensive about Jamal. I mean, I'm pretty sure they love their dad, but at the same time, their dad really hurt their mom. So their top priority is their mother. But, he gives them a gift. And he lets them know that they are going to be co-owners of a restaurant down there in Atlanta. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. The oldest one, she just wasn't really feeling him, period. I'm like, damn. Like, not at all. But let's move on, you guys. All right, you guys. So we are introduced officially to Wendy. So Wendy has her 3 sons, Carter and Cruz, and her daughter. Oh God, I forgot the baby's name, and she is such a cute little thing, cute little girl. And she's 2 months, but I really forgot the baby's name. They showed it on the bottom of the screen, but I didn't really take it down. So she's Nigerian American, and so is her husband, and his name is Eddie, and he's a lawyer. So they're talking to the boys about their grandmother. I'm assuming that was her mom coming over to teach them Igbo. And you guys, the funny thing is, I just did my ancestry like a month ago, and I just got my results back, and I'm 46% Nigerian. So I thought that was like when I think that's really cool. Cause that's, I was looking at the top 3 places that my ancestry comes from. I want to visit them. Definitely want to visit them, like Mali, Nigeria. It's another one. I can't remember which one it was, but pretty cool. So we find out that, Miss Wendy is like hella educated, and she runs down the list. So her Bachelor's of Arts was in Political Science. Her Master's of Arts is in Government. Her Master's of Science is in Public Policy. Her PhD is in Community Development, Public Affairs. She teaches at Johns Hopkins, and she teaches Education and Policy, and she's also a political commentator. We saw her doing we saw her talking to the baby about Melania. Oh God. We saw her talking about, he always has something to say about anybody who goes against whatever he feels is the right thing to do. Because I remember him when he was attacking LeBron James. I didn't know that, Skeleton jumped in as well. Like, girl, you need to worry about stealing more of Michelle Obama's speeches. That's what you need to worry about. But I try to watch Fox News sometimes just to get a different perspective. But when I watch Fox News, it's just all they want to talk about is the radical left, the radical left this, the radical left this, the radical left, the radical, But I guess it could be, and it's not. Because I watch NBC, like on Sunday mornings, I watch Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. He's not all about the extreme right, the extreme right. He doesn't talk like that. But when you turn it to Fox News, it's always the radical left, this sleepy Joe, that da 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 da. I don't know how people actually sit there and listen and get their news from Fox News solely. Like, I don't see how people can sit and get their news solely from, you know, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, or the likes. I feel like you should broaden your spectrum of where you get your news from, and that's what I try to do. But like I said, when I watch Fox News, it's just too much of the radical left. You know, it's the radical left this, and then even when they're talking about like the police violence, they want to blame the victims of the violence, and it's or they want to bring up black on black crime and this kind of stupid shit, which is not real first and foremost. But I'm getting off the topic, and I'm getting right back onto this show. I just like the fact that Wendy's a political commentator, and I've never watched her, but I'm actually interested to watch her do some commentating. You know, if she's on Fox News, I will let me know in the comment section, guys, if she does some stuff on Fox News, and I'll actually watch it. But let's move on. All right, you guys, next we're going to talk about Candice. So actually what they did with this scene with Candice and Monique, they kind of did it like what we've done in past with Real Housewives of Atlanta. Actually, we've done this before with Potomac, where they'll have two girls talking about one subject. So Candice is out with Chris, and they're shopping for her stepdaughter, and I'm like, whoa. We didn't hear nothing about them stepchildren last season, and especially that son that Chris has. We have not heard anything about those kids, so I don't know if the relationship is good, bad, indifferent, but nonetheless, they're out shopping for the stepdaughter. And then she sees something, she's like, oh, you know what? I should pick this up for Ashley. So then, you know, she was telling him about the dinner that they had, you know, the night before, whenever they had that dinner, and how it felt like a gang up. He's like, in a good way? She says, no, in a bad way, Chris. And then she says, you know, I was really, really shocked by Monique's behavior. You know, she tells him that Monique was mad at her for inviting Charisse to her party. And, you know, she feels that Monique is not a good friend. She feels like she's a flip-flopper. She feels like Monique is one way in front of the group, but when, you know, the cameras and everything is down, Monique is a different person. I don't see that, because I've watched some of Monique's, you know, Instagram stuff. I don't follow her. Actually, I think I'm gonna go follow Monique. I've never followed Monique, but from the stuff that I've saw Monique, she seems the same on camera as she is off camera. Now, looks can be, you know, people can put on multiple faces. So I'm not gonna say that she's not what Candice is saying, but from what I've saw Monique, I don't see a difference in who she is on camera versus off camera. Because she still talks a lot off camera, even though, when it comes to Monique, I have grown to like Monique. Because when she first came on, I wasn't the biggest Monique fan, and it was just because she talks a lot. But now I'm starting to, you know, I'm really starting to, I grew to like Monique in season 3, actually, I will say. Because after her first season, I was like, not a big fan. But season 3, she came back, I'm like, okay, I fuck with Monique. But as far as a flip-flopper, we will actually talk about that in just a little bit. All right, you guys, next let's talk about Monique. So Monique, she has Karen over. You know, she has T'Challa with her. You know, I remember they just said last week or the week before that he went missing, but he came back. So she has T'Challa, you know, she tells him to poop. And Karen comes over, and she opens the door, and Karen looks at that bird like, girl, you and this bird. So they go outside, and, you know, they're having a little lunch. So Monique asks Karen, you know, what does she think about the party for Ashley? And Karen says it was a bit much, which I agree with Karen. Like, I don't know how Giselle and Giselle and Monique didn't think that that would be a lot. I get where they were coming from. I honestly do understand where Monique and Giselle what they were trying to accomplish. They were trying to get the group together. They were trying to get everybody to take accountability for the things that they have said and done, more specifically, Candice. But, like Karen just said, that was a bit much. You cannot, like I said, you cannot force a person to apologize. If they say that they're not sorry, that's it. Leave it at that. Because if a person says that they're sorry and they don't mean it, that's just a waste. That's just a waste of an apology and a waste of breath at that point. When Candice and Ashley said that, let's table this discussion for one-on-one with me and you, Giselle should have shut the fuck up. And sorry, Monique, but you should have shut the fuck up as well. Because that is between Ashley and Candice at that point. If they both, but then Ashley, I feel like Ashley felt the group backing her up, and she's like, well, because when Candice said she didn't want to do this in front of the audience, and Ashley said, well, you have an audience as well. I'm like, Ashley, that's not what she's saying. That was not what she was saying. She was saying she didn't want to get into the particulars of that discussion in front of the audience. She wanted it to be just you two, nobody around, nobody to chime in, nobody to interject themselves, which is what was going on at that table. And then, Monique says that she's still upset over Candice inviting Charisse to her party. Now, I get Monique, I do get it, because I wouldn't want to go to a party where there's someone there that I don't like. But if I go to a party where there's someone that I don't like, I treat them like a brick wall, like I don't see them. And then I can't get mad at the person for inviting them. I'm like, shit, that's your party. I mean, you know how I feel about the person, but that's your party. Like with my family, they keep me in mind when they invite my biological mother to events. Because they'll say Jerome, that's my middle name. That's where JB comes from, my middle and my last name. They'll be like, Jerome, we're inviting, your mother, your birth mother. Are you okay with that? I'm like, that's fine. Y'all can invite her all y'all want to. I really don't care. Like, we can be on opposite sides of the building, or wherever we are, we can be on opposite sides of the room. I don't have to interact with her if I don't want to. Like, I don't have to interact with a person that I don't necessarily kick it with. I don't have an issue with her. My birth mother, that is. I don't have an issue with her. I just sometimes prefer, I would, if we're in the same room with each other, we can say hi and bye. That's about it. But as far as having an in-depth conversation, not going to happen. More than likely, it's not going to happen. And that's what I feel like could happen with, Monique. You don't have to necessarily have a whole ass conversation with Charisse, but I mean, you can be in same room with her, and just ignore the woman, act like the woman doesn't exist. That's what I would do personally. But let me move on with the review. If this nigga let me. All right, you guys, and then lastly, we see Ashley and Grandpa. So they are out shopping for an outfit for Dean for the sip and see. My Lord, that baby looks exactly like Michael. My God, that is a replica of Grandpa. Jesus Christ. So, Ashley's telling him that, she's invited all the girls over to the sip and see, including Candice. He's like, you invited Candice, huh? He was like, okay. It's going to be a little bit awkward. I mean, you got to hide the butter knives from her. So then, Ashley was looking at her body in the mirror, and, she was talking about her body, and he's like, he tried to, curtail the conversation about that. And then she let us know that after having, the baby, they haven't really been the same sexually. Girl, just say you don't want to have sex with him. That's really, truly what it is. Now that you got your baby, you don't want to fuck him. Let's just leave it at that. So then we have the sip and see. So all the ladies start to show up. So we see Giselle, we see, wait a minute, was Robin on time for once? Oh my God, Robin. So yeah, we saw Giselle, we saw Robin, we saw Monique, we saw Karen. I think Karen was like one of the last ones. Nope, Charisse was actually the last one to show up. Which technically, she's not, is Charisse even a friend of the Housewives this season? But yeah, all the ladies show up. Now, Karen, she's talking to Wendy once again. And Karen is just giving, Mariah Carey tease. I don't know that woman when it comes to Wendy. And, she was on, her and Monique did an Instagram live last week. And as much as I love Karen, as much as I love her, because she was talking about, she was an actual housewife to Ray. and she was talking about Wendy. Like in a sense, she was trying to make it seem like Wendy was jealous of her. Now, as much as I love Karen, and you guys can correct me in the comment section if I took the wrong person and took the wrong interpretation of that, but it just made it seem the way she was talking, you would think she was saying that Wendy is jealous of her. And I'm like, Karen, with all due respect, I love you. You're one of my favorite housewives on this franchise, but you don't have anything for Wendy to be jealous of. That woman is accomplished in herself. Like, the woman has done a lot for herself in her life. She has how many degrees does Wendy have? Like, Wendy has 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees. She's a political commentator and she's a professor at Johns Hopkins. So Wendy has done a lot for herself. So there's not much that Wendy needs to be jealous of. I'm sure if Wendy wanted to be a housewife, she could. Her husband would be okay with that. I mean, with him being a lawyer, I don't know what kind of law he practices, but I don't see why she would be jealous of, Karen, but whatever. So like I said, everyone is at the party. Now, before Candice even got to the party, they were discussing her, and I felt like that was wrong of them to just be discussing her like that. And I was happy that Ashley, when Candice did show up and sat down, Ashley let her know that, hey, before you got here, we were talking about you, and we were just talking about the fact that we feel like when it comes down to you, it's hard for you to take accountability for anything that you say or do, which that is 100% true. Like, I know that, some old tweets came up with some about Candice saying some homophobic stuff. I didn't read them. I haven't read them. I don't care to read them. It's not that big of a deal to me. And I'm gonna tell you guys why. Because I'll probably be like, it's not that big of a deal. No, it's not. It's really not. Because I heard the tweet, because I was watching some of her with Dineva yesterday. The tweets are from 2010. People can grow. It's 2020. That was 10 years. That was a decade ago. People can grow, evolve, and change. Some, not all. So I'm not going. And then the other thing is, they're glam squad. They're glam squad. They're the people who dress. They're the people who do their clothes and everything. I'm pretty positive most of the people that they work with are gay. Hell, their boss is gay, Andy. So I'm not gonna harp too much on it. Now, I would harp a lot on it if Candice said this stuff and she still says homophobic stuff. Like, that would be the same with a racist. Like, if somebody says some racist stuff in the past and they still continue to say it, then I would have an issue, because that means you are still just at this point, you're willfully ignorant. So, I'm not gonna harp too much on Candice. Honest to God, I really don't care about Candice that much. So that's why I'm not harping on it. So then, Candice says that she just wants to talk to Ashley on her terms, and I do understand. Like, I've already said that she didn't want to have a big conversation in front of the girls. I understand that. So then Wendy says, maybe she didn't want to have that conversation in front of you guys because she doesn't consider every one of you in this circle her friends. And Wendy asks the question, do you consider everyone in this circle your friends? She says, good question. So Monique says, Wendy says, and I consider myself a good friend to you, and stuff like that. Monique says, tread lightly. And Candice says, and then they go back and forth with the laughing. So eventually, she gets upset, Candice gets upset, and she walks out and leaves. And then Giselle is in there calling her a child, a grown-ass child. Giselle, what are you? Like, what the fuck are you? So then Giselle decides to open up her big-ass mouth to talk about Charisse and Monique. Now, here's my issue when it comes to Monique. Because, actually, you guys remember last season, Candice's whole issue with Monique was that fact that she was friends with Ashley. So then she says, oh, now this year, it's because you doing this because, you coming at me because, you and Giselle are cool and you need an enemy. And she's like, oh, look, Giselle, now it's you. So, like I said, Giselle just had to open up her big ass mouth about Charisse and Monique. Monique didn't want to sit there and talk about it. I'm like, well, you just said something about Candice not wanting to have a conversation with you about y'all's issues, but here you are with Sharice. Now I want to address her. Now me personally, I wouldn't want to address Sharice just because I don't like the woman. I just think she's not my cup of tea. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily address Sharice. So Ashley felt bad and she followed out behind Candice. Child, why did Candice have that tissue? I hate when she does that and she just dabs it under her eye. That is so annoying to me. But those two, they say that they'll sit down and talk with each other. And Candice was like, she just didn't want to do that in front of in her party and ruin it. I respect him for that part. But you guys, that was the Real Housewives of Potomac. Tell me what you guys think about this episode. Be sure to like this video, leave your comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware of when I drop anything else. Share this video, and until the next one, you guys, do me a solid favor. Take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, and stay hydrated, and I will see you guys later. Bye.